Hold up. Wait a minute.
Bruh.
Did you hit the like button? Drop some rabbits in the chat. Let's go.
Hit that like. Welcome to the chat. Let's chit chat. Hit that like. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. If you want the tea, come see me. Rabbit hole is the place to be for real news, not fake news. Celebrity news, breaking news around the clock. Real talk, best on the block. I rock. Real talk, best on the block. I rock. Hit that like. Welcome to the chat. Let's chit chat. Hit that like. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. True crime is my specialty. Exposing the industry. Unsolved mysteries. Sticking to reality. Fair use commentary. Talking about cults. Trying to get results. Exploring cults. Researching. Debunking. Investigating. Being nosy. Super nosy. Being messy. Being shady. Rabbit hole news. That's me. The chick with ADHD. Unmedicated. But quite educated. Hit that like. Welcome to the chat. Let's chit chat. Hit that like. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Hit that like. Let's go. Let's start the show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Welcome. I'm moving stuff around still because I'm still trying to set up and everything. And let me put my phone away so I don't get distracted. Good morning, good afternoon, morning, depending on what side of the world you're at. Shout out to everybody in the chat, or evening, because Wim's like on the other side. Hey, Wim, how are you? Good to see you, Wim, in the chat. Welcome, everybody. Hey, everybody, come through. You know, this ish keeps getting even more insane every day. It feels like we're living in an inescapable soap opera tragedy, says PW. Shout out to PW. Thank you guys for being here. Charlene, how are you? Shout out to you, Sandra. Yes. Welcome, Squids. How are you, my love? Search for You is in the house. Chico's in the house. Thank you. Shout out to my wonderful, beautiful mods, first of all. Betty Jane, Samantha, Yadira. Who else? Cheeks is in the house. Storm, Linzer, thank you for being here. Y'all, I'm so sorry for being late. Minds, y'all. James, thank you. I missed you guys. I didn't go live yesterday. Hi, NJS. How are you? Because I was like, I got to work on some other stuff, right? And I'm struggling. Let me tell you what I'm struggling with. I'm going to tell you guys something. So I was watching the Sherry Pepperoni documentary on HBO, the one that I missed because of the Diddy trial. I can't stand that lady. And I cannot stand the lady and the professionals around her. So I'm like, I know a lot of people haven't watched it. So I'm wondering for those members if it would be best to do like a watch party on the Discord. And then that way I can do like a reaction to it. I cannot stand Sherry Papini. And I cannot believe that she was allowed to give her side of the story of this whole situation when the lady's already been found guilty. I cannot believe that you got actual professionals with degrees making excuses for this lady. And I sat there and I said, I cannot believe that people actually ate that shit up and didn't call these professionals. I can't stand it. So if you're a member, I'm thinking about doing a watch party, maybe over the weekend, on Sherry Papini and the damn lies that she said on HBO. Because, you know, I have to like buy all these apps, you know, to keep up with all the stuff that's being said out there about the true crime stuff. So We have to talk about that at some point, not today. I'm having an allergic reaction because I don't know if I can get over the last 2 episodes of this damn thing. I don't know if I can, but I will try my best. Wim just gifted 5 memberships, guys. If you've been blessed by Wim, put some hearts in the chat. Thank you, Wim, or some confettis, one or the other. Thank you. Remember what happened? And I think a lot of people were concerned for her Pippi Longstockings. I think a lot of people were, and it's amazing to me that I'm sure that her husband was not an angel. Like, let's be real. I don't think that Mr. Keith Papini, Pepperoni, whatever, that he is a good guy. I don't think so. But in order for there to be a lie concocted to lie to, I'm not buying the whole situation. I'm not. And then she tries to like appeal to the audience by saying, have you ever told a lie? Have you ever lied? I'm sure a lot of people have lied. A lot of people have lied. Okay. A lot of people have omitted things. A lot. But never in my life have I lied to the point where I decide to run away with a boyfriend because I'm tired of being a housewife, leaving my kids behind. Concocted this whole story. Never. Nothing like that. I could lie. I could say, "Oh, this food is really really good," when it's really really shitty. Okay? I could, try not to hurt my best friend's feelings. But never in my life have I lied to the point where I've lied to the feds. I've never lied to the feds. I can say that. And I've never lied to, it's preposterous what she's proposing. But it's crazy, and they gave her a platform, and we got to drag her, and we got to talk about it. Okay. Side note. All right. Shout out to everybody. Huntsville. Lord have mercy, your name. Radical Media. John Kamen is a Mossad front. All right. Well, yeah, thank you for the 199, my love. We're not even there. I know we're gonna talk about the Epstein stuff. I know the Epstein brings a lot of different energies from folks. So we're gonna talk about that. That's gonna be interesting. But let's get to a couple of other topics before we even go there. Okay. Hold up, my friends. Hold up. Now let me see our lineup. We got quite a lineup. Let's talk about Michael Jackson. I don't feel like personally, I did watch the Michael Jackson documentaries. I wasn't a content creator then, and I'm definitely not going to put my hat in some of this argument. But there is some stuff happening with Michael Jackson, his estate. I'm glad that Paris is speaking up, talking about there's these lawyers that are paying themselves a lot of money. I'm glad that she's doing that, and she's not like, like she's actually fighting for it. I think it's great. However, I think it's a bit criminal, right? That you have this, big estate, because apparently it's worth a lot of money, right? And these lawyers are able to pay themselves so much money, right? And it always seems like there's news about people coming, after Michael Jackson, either for the allegations, whether you believe them or not. We're not even going to touch on that. I have a lot of questions. I do. And I also have a lot of questions about the accusers, especially when you perjure yourself in trial and then come back 20 plus years later or 15 years later and give a whole different story. I have a lot of questions about that. Wade Robson does not strike me as someone that's very honest. I'm just being honest with y'all. He doesn't give me the what's the word? Wade Robson specifically. Like, he just gives me this untruthful energy, if that makes sense. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. I mean, I could be wrong. Safe Chuck, I think, is a whole different story that I that would be a whole different conversation in itself. But let's talk about this, because this has been making news, and I watch TJ Jackson on Twitter kind of going off too about this whole situation. So Michael Jackson's former defender accused of extortion after allegedly threatening to make damning new claims about late singer. Isn't that kind of been the thing, right? Like, I know I have a lot of victims and excuse me, a lot of people that support victims and survivors of various things, and I agree. But guys, at some point you have to kind of wonder, how do you leverage information like this when somebody's coming forward who is like a defender and then suddenly realizes that they have claims to make. What is the line that is set? What line don't we cross when it comes to things like this? Can you guys let me know? Let me know what is the line? What have we established here? Because it seems like this seems to be the thing where it's like, initially people will make one allegation and then kind of go a different way. And I'm all open for this conversation because it leaves a lot of feelings and it messes things up for folks that do go through various traumas and things like that. I'm open for a conversation about this. But anyways, so Frank, I think it's Casios, I think that's his name, a manager who defended the King of Pop against the Pedialyte allegations in 2011, in his 2011 memoir, is allegedly behind the 213 million scheme. Okay. So the Jackson estate has named Frank a manager who defended the King of Pop against the Pedialyte claims in his 2011 memoir as the man behind a supposed shakedown plot. The petition alleges Frank is asking for 213 million, or he will file a public lawsuit about alleged abuse of Michael Jackson. So you're standing firm, you've been defending Michael Jackson. There's pictures of Frank and whatnot. He was defending Michael Jackson, then suddenly, he's not. Suddenly he's like, if you don't pay me this 213 million, I'm going to come forward and drop the real information about how I was a victim too. Does any of this make any sense? Let me know. Because literally I'm so confused by this situation, and it makes everybody just kind of look a little bit suspect. And I saw the Michael Jackson, family and everything kind of go off on Twitter about this and talk a little bit about this. How are you allowed to make, like, you're with the estate, you're making memoirs, and then suddenly, if you don't get paid this, I'm gonna make some allegations. Frank allegedly extorted the Jackson estate after docuseries Leaving Neverland aired, which amplified years of child abuse claims against the deceased pop star, superstar. The king of pop may be gone, but the battles over his legacy rage on, this time with one of Jackson's former closest confidants at the center of the jaw-dropping legal firestorm. More than a decade after Jackson's sudden death and years after damning abuse allegations resurfaced in HBO documentary, the one that, Oprah was there after she had interviewed Michael Jackson and was like, so for Jackson. And then at some point in 2019, I don't know what she got paid. I don't know what she got fed, but she felt herself to be the front poster picture for the Me Too movement. And then she got herself involved with Russell Simmons as well in that whole documentary and those allegations. And then suddenly she's like, guys, never mind. I'm not supporting those allegations anymore. Why doesn't she speak on this? What's going on here? And why are people willfully, and not only that, why are they able to just walk back and not be held accountable to any of the things that they're saying at this point? I need to understand. You said as long as there's a lot of money involved, people will forever come after it. And that's not to take, I don't know what happened with Michael Jackson and these alleged victims. We don't know. I wasn't there. But let me tell you something. You don't get, because a lot of victims have to face accusers, right? They have to face a lot of scrutiny every day. I have seen it in court. I've seen them get torn upside down with lawyers. So then to suddenly say one thing and then change your mind, or stand on something for many years and then you don't get the money that you want, what are we doing here? That should be suspect in general. You said, man, the real sassafras. I spent the summer of 99 at Jackson's and one of his producers named Fred House all summer. There was some crazy stories, none of which were minors. I don't see that in him. We know that the Hollywood industry, we've been exposing this. Hollywood industry is so scammy. So it's the most, right? Like you got to watch your back, and the kids are never protected. Hell, the parents don't even protect their own kids, right? We've seen this time and time again, all the time. For example, I just talked about Jared Leto. I dropped a video a couple days ago. Some of you guys have not watched it. I suggest you do. Some of these girls their parents would hear them talk to Jared on the phone. He would be inappropriate. Hey, come over to my house. Come on, come over here. Do you have a boyfriend? This man is 30 plus years old talking to your 16-year-old daughter. And you thought, you know what? This is an opportunity for my child to be in the industry. I don't need to. I don't want to mess things up for my kid. And then here we are 20 plus years later, they're writing memoirs or filing lawsuits because honestly, yes, the perpetrator did what they did, but why isn't also the parent held accountable as well? I was brainwashed. I didn't know. We just thought, they were hanging out, they were together. Like there's something off. Guys, if we start holding people accountable in the household about the connections that these people get in the industry, I'm telling you, we're going to see that be minimized extremely. We're going to see parents actually step up to the plate and say, you know what? No, Mr. Music Producer, no, Mr. Artist, you're not going to be talking to my child on the phone. And guess what? If you're going to be talking, there's going to be a lawyer here and I'm going to be here and we're going to do this together. Because guess what? I'm involved. I still hold some level of responsibility to this child. As soon as we start making actual moves about this, then some of that is going to go away because the parents are going to cop out of this. Now, do I find that parents also get groomed in such situations? Yes. Yes. But the buck needs to stop somewhere, guys, because at this point, it's like, this is too much, right? Just a thought. Anyways, let's keep going. Okay. So, more than a decade after Jackson's sudden death and years after damning allegations resurfaced in the HBO docuseries, his estate is now accusing longtime friend and music manager Frank of engineering an elaborate and calculated scheme to cash in on the controversy. Why am I not surprised? When I think of this estate, I think of like people just sitting around having meetings, quarterly meetings, deciding where money goes, what gets paid, who gets what, where things go. And they're sitting there like kind of like on a board. And they're sitting there watching this money be pulled in and out, having the access. So when Paris Jackson comes forward and she's like, listen, I don't know why this attorney and that attorney that are over the estate, they get these lavish gifts. They're paying themselves. They don't have a forensic accountant. Y'all have all these people. It's almost like they're at the a dinner table and all this cash is just right there. And you guys don't have a forensic accountant? Nobody's there like counting these monies? I guess I don't know how it works. Clearly, I don't. You would think that this would be a thing that they would have in place, but I don't know. In court papers filed Wednesday in Los Angeles County Superior Court obtained by People Jackson estate identified the accuser as Frank, a longtime associate of the singer who once managed aspects of his career and penned a 2011 memoir, My Friend Michael, defending the star's reputation. Jackson's estate escalated its legal battle against the former confidant of the late Pomp, accusing him of fabricating explosive child allegations in alleged 213 million extortion attempt, according to the filing. Despite years of publicly defending Jackson against allegations, the estate claims Frank betrayed a man he once called a brother, a mentor, and a friend, as written in his memoir, all in the pursuit of a hefty payday. Frank reiterated that defense publicly in appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Primetime Live, and the Wendy Williams Show, always positioning himself as a defender of Jackson's controversial legacy. But according to the estate, that loyalty flipped dramatically when public sentiments began to shift following the debut of Leaving Neverland and the harrowing documentary in which Wade Robson and James Safechuck accused Jackson of abusing them as children. Both men continue to pursue those civil cases against the estate, which maintains their claims are untrue and financially motivated. The petition, which seeks to compel arbitration, marks the estate's first response to what is characterized as a brazen extortion attempt. It's alleged that Frank and his legal team, now led by celebrity attorney Mark Geragos, Lord have mercy, he's all over the place, who formerly represented Jackson, have repeatedly threatened to file a public lawsuit about alleged abuse claims. The estate meets escalating monetary demands. Here's my question, Mark Geragos. I saw a very interesting interview. Shout out to Megan Cuniff. Megan Cuniff had Mark Geragos there, and they were talking. I don't know if this was, sounded like it was before the verdict. Mark Geragos is everywhere, as attorneys, he's everywhere. But I remember specifically, I think Mark Geragos represented Michael Jackson. So now he's representing the accusers. I'm not really sure how that works ethically, but some of these lawyers, I don't know. I think the bar should have very specific kind of rules. Marky Mark Geragos are there. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we have a lot to talk about. You have arrived. Shout out to you. No, we're not. We just started, guys. We are not at the Maxwell news. I promise you we're going to go there next. I promise. Because that's going to take us a minute. So I'm kind of curious about this. Frank is alleged to have first initiated what the estate calls a shakedown at the Sunset Marquis Hotel swimming pool in the wake of Leaving Neverland, which reignited long-standing allegations. Jackson, essayed Robson and Safechuck. According to the filing, Frank, who had known Jackson since childhood, remained close to him for decades, reversed his long-standing public stance in which he passionately and unequivocally defended Jackson's innocence. The negotiation with respondents morphed into a shakedown in which Frank and his cohorts each demanded substantial amounts of money. Otherwise, they threatened to concoct false allegations against Michael, which were the opposite of their prior glowing statements about Michael they had made in his defense over the prior decades. The petition claims, and that they were free to do this because there is no protection against defamation for a deceased person. This is interesting. Can you defame a deceased person? Is there protection? I mean, there's the estate, right? But like, you can, if any of this is true, Michael can't defend himself, right? But this is going to go back and forth for years and years. You can get in a legal battle with this, and I mean, you have Wade Robson, you have Safechuck, for example. They're in a years battle. What was it? It was filed in 2019 or 2017, and we're in 2025. Is there ever going to be a ending to any of this? That's the question. I don't know. That's the question, but I have a lot of questions about it. Okay, so in My Friend Michael, Frank had written that Jackson's affection for children was innocent and deeply misunderstood. All the years that I was close to him, I saw nothing that raised my red flags, not as a child and not as an adult. Michael may have been eccentric, but that didn't make him a criminal, he added in his book. I want to be precise and clear on the record so that everyone can read and understand Michael's love for children was innocent, he wrote. You know who I think was it Macaulay Culkin who testified in court, and he's never spoken out against Michael as well. I wonder about that. The estate claims that in January of 2020, it reluctantly agreed to a confidential settlement with Frank totaling 3.3 million, explicitly stating no admission of wrongdoing. Accordingly, in order to prevent Michael's family members, particularly his children, from having to deal with another further false allegations against Michael, it had to protect Michael's valuable legacy. In 2020, MJC reluctantly entered into the agreement with respondents. The settlement included a binding arbitration clause to resolve any future disputes privately. However, the estate alleges Frank violated that agreement last year by threatening public legal action unless he was paid an additional 213 million. So he runs out of 3.3 million. I don't know how you run out of 3.3 million. Lord have mercy. I don't know. That's a lot of money. And then he's like, all right, I'm done with that money. 213 million. I need more. And now I'm going out publicly. The current petition accuses Frank and his associates of breaching that arbitration agreement by continuing to press public threats, now reportedly lowered to a 44 million demand. Here's my question. There are some victims out there, real victims out there. They don't get justice and they don't get money. There are victims out there that have been compensated and they're like, you know what? I can't bring this person to trial, but I have been compensated and I'm settled with that, right? I've seen that happen. But there's people out there that don't get money and don't get justice. Don't ever see a judge, a jury, or anything. This person gets to come back. They don't want to go public. They're like, listen, we rather just pay you off so you can just, just go away. And privately you come back and we'll go to arbitration if need be. Guys, nobody gets that luxury. I know people that have been affected that never get that luxury. Hell, Epstein victims, for example, don't get that luxury. Some will never get justice and some will never get paid and some will even be denied justice. Why? Because there's no list. Because nothing happened here behind the green curtain. Ain't that some ish? Remember that. Remember that. Okay? Anyways, to enforce their rights under the agreement, the estates rights petitioners hereby seek an order compelling respondent to resolve any and all of their alleged claims in accordance with the express provisions of the agreement. Attorney Mark Garagos did not respond to the request for comment, of course. So I'm going to stop right here because then it gets into just more about his death, Michael Jackson's death. Listen, I know that there's a lot of controversy regarding Michael Jackson. And, I want to understand how can you, like, it's weird because none of this is going to be ever brought up legally, right? None of it. But for those people that never get justice, and this is such a great segue to Epstein, for those people that never get justice or that never will get justice from any of the wrongdoing, I think we have to think about them, right? The government said that it had over 1,000 victims, right? Some of the information is so private and salacious. We've kind of had a couple of days to digest it. I've gone live and talked about it. I've had my reactions. I'm pissed about it because it's not fair. It's not fair. And I'm glad that people that are both in the both sides of the coins, okay? Because you have people that are MAGA supporters that are upset, that have actually kind of like, even the other side, on that other side, on the left, who said, you know what? This doesn't make sense. And yeah, it makes sense for all of us as a whole to call this out. And I am so here for it. Because I don't have to agree with a MAGA supporter. I don't have to agree with the left. I don't have to agree with anybody. I think where we see is that there's some level of wrongdoing here and it's being ignored and we're being gaslit. We're demanding information and we're not getting it. So here's my question. And I knew that this was going to come up, right? There's been a lot of articles circulating about, like yesterday, TMZ reported Maxwell hoping for a Trump pardon, but WH says, I believe that's the Washington or the White House says, it will never happen. And then you have other sources that are saying, like the Latin Times, Trump considered pardoning Epstein complicit over concerns. She would say anything about his relationship with Epstein. This is what the author claims. Other folks are saying different things. This is the Daily Beast. Take it for what it's worth. I don't necessarily care for it. Trump held talks on pardon for Maxwell, biographer said. Okay, so President Trump weighed pardoning on Maxwell for fear that she would spill secrets about his decades-long friendship with convicted child S.O. Jeffrey Epstein. Maxwell, who's now 63, was arrested by the FBI in July of 2020 for allegedly helping Epstein run that ring that we all know about, okay? Trump grew very, very wary and began asking, what could she say? What could she say? The author, Michael Wolff, said on the, oh man, am I going to have to subscribe? Yes, I am. Hold up. See if I can get it somewhere else. Other articles are talking about it. That's okay. Okay. Trump considered pardoning Epstein complicit, fear what she could reveal, biographer says. Here it is. Okay. So then the Trump considered this pardoning, but because he's very worried, Trump became very wary about the arrest of GHISLAINE Maxwell. What would she say? And should he pardon her? Wolff said on the Daily Beast Wednesday. Trump was a longtime friend of Epstein, who he called a horrible, horrible guy, right? Who he said all kinds of things. Who, when talking about very early in 2016, during that time, when he was, talking about the Epstein files, he's like, well, we got to see what's fake news, what isn't fake news. I mean, literally, Trump was a longtime friend of Epstein, who he once called a terrific guy. He said the same thing about Diddy too, right? Now, Diddy, we can go back and forth. We've already talked about that. He's been found guilty of the Mann Act. People can argue, well, that was unfair. Listen, it's done. It's done dadas. There's nothing else. Okay, it's the deal is done dadas. But it's either Trump has a really bad judgment character, or he really thinks that he was a terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with, Trump said in 2002 New York Magazine profile on Epstein, according to the Associated Press. Now, I remember many years ago, I was listening to this podcast because I was kind of curious, like, who the hell is this Epstein guy, right? Like when Epstein first started coming about, where he got his money, where he came about. And he truly kind of is this persona that really came out of nowhere and then kind of got really close to like the rich and famous and that type of situation. And the reason why he's been empowered is because he held so much information against certain folks. Now, some people have said, no, that's not the case. Like, he's just, how did he get to have so much money? That's what I want to know. What did he do? Where did that money come from? Right? It feels like we're dealing with the magician at this point. Like we don't even know half of this. Anyways, so let's keep reading, okay? He's a lot of fun to be with. This is what Trump told, people in 2002. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life. He likes young girls. Trump was quoted saying this. Okay. Now, that could be all kinds of girls. It could be, 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds, but this is what he said. In 2019, then counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, claimed Trump had not talked to Epstein, who later killed himself while in federal custody for 20 to 15 years. Maxwell was found guilty in December of 2021 of luring young girls to Epstein. Okay. Epstein, we know the story of Epstein, so I'm not trying to go too much into it. Trump's insiders were uneasy about the possible pardon of Maxwell, according to Wolff, who has written several books about the Trump presidency. Behind the scenes, this was a discussion. Everybody around him was kind of like, oh God, we hope she won't say anything, but we really hope he doesn't pardon her. Well, what crime did she commit, guys? A woman is sitting behind bars, and I'm not making an argument for her to be, pardoned, not at all. But let's be real. If there's no list, there's nothing. What is she sitting behind bars again? I forgot. Who are the victims? We can't know that information. We're not wanting to know that. But it shouldn't just be her behind bars, right? It shouldn't just be her. It should be a lot of other people. Did other people take immunity deals? Did other people sign things that we don't even know? Like, I guess I'm confusion about the situation. Why? What is there? What are we missing here? We're missing something here. Will she be pardoned? Will she not be pardoned? And if she's not going to be pardoned, well, then why isn't more people behind her? Because she couldn't have worked it by herself, guys. This makes no sense. Is it just me who's confused by this news? Why is she still in prison if there's no trafficking? She's literally, it wasn't just, she did it all by herself. Lord have mercy. She was the Carmen Sandiego of this whole crime. She was. There's something wrong with this, because I really want to know. Not that I want this lady to be free, because I don't. But she shouldn't be the only one behind bars. She shouldn't be the only one behind bars. And if this president is not going to push the issue, then I think a lot of us should. How can you trust somebody that is doing this? They're playing right in front of our face. And then they're telling you, no, it's not happening. We're being gaslit. Yeah, the people love to blame a woman. She did it. They pin it on a girl. She did it all. She did the flights. She did the driving. She did it all. She purchased the island. She got it all down. It was all GHISLAINE Maxwell. She did it all, my friends. She did it all. It's all her fault. Thank you. How was she convicted if there's no evidence against Epstein? I love that we're asking the right questions. How was she convicted if there's no evidence against Epstein? Hell, they said that Michael Jackson visited the island too. Where's that? I mean, there's a lot of people that said that. I don't understand. You call an airplane the Lolita Express. If you know Lolita, if you understand the meaning behind the name, and we have no problems with that. Nobody else did it. Who flew the plane? Who refueled it? Who held the plane? Like, all this stuff we're not even asking. See, it was long said that certain Democratic parties are on these lists, and that's why this administration didn't do it. I'm here to tell you that this list should have been released during the Biden administration. It should have been released. Why is this being held against us? Why can't we see it? We don't want to know. We don't want to watch child abuse material. That's not what we want. We don't want that. We refuse and we rebuke that. But why can't we have the basics? There should be more people behind bars. And you know what this tells me? The people that donated to this campaign where this president is at right now are the ones that are on that list. I don't see it any other way. You got Kash Patel and Dan singing a whole different dance tune at this point. Man, they look nervous every time they're on camera. They look like they need an edible. They do. I'm like, let me give you a little flower or something, because you look like you just went to a funeral. They look so nervous about answering. They're trying to keep their jobs, guys. They're trying to keep their jobs. You know what makes me mad is that this is going to stay secret. It's just going to be conspiracy after conspiracy, because that's all we have. People have said that they saw files and stuff like that. And Elon is no angel here, by all means. Don't forget that article that I showed you guys a couple days ago. They were trying to subpoena Elon for a JP banking situation that involved the island with Epstein. Elon is no angel. So for him to just say, I'm pissed off and I'm going to expose it all, is no different than what Frank is doing here in the Jackson, what's it called, estate. You get mad, you're not getting paid, you're not getting primary this or that. So that's when you want to expose. That's when the rich want to expose. They don't give a shit about us. They don't. I told y'all. They don't. I don't believe that Elon is innocent of shit. He sat there, he put his money towards it. Hell, half of Twitter, all of Twitter was pro one way and then exposing the other. Elon is trash. Okay. But these people get away with it because they have the money to do it. That's what it is. It's weird to see the dynamic shift of folks. But I do want to know. This is what TMZ reported. You guys know I'm not a fan. Maxwell, it's time to pardon me, Mr. Trump. White House says no way. Why? Not because I want this woman out, but is there a process to this? Are we going to oversee her crime? We're going to review her file? Are we going to look into it? Is there a crime or is there no crime? What is it? Maxwell is hopeful Trump will review her case and pardon her. Keep being hopeful, girl, because guess what? It wouldn't surprise me if you get Epstein in there as well. Epstein's done. Virginia Giuffre, the most outspoken victim, out. Weird how that happened, right? I don't find that to be a coincidence. Immediately, she unalived herself. Her family said that while she was having conflict with their family. She had a hard time with their family. She was very close to various attorneys. Okay. Her ex, she had made allegations. You had Lady Lizard that was coming forward and dragging her, telling her that she had lied. Lady Lizard went on Piers Morgan, talking about these photos are fake. All of this is fake. Prince Andrew was innocent this whole time. No. Convenient that the most outspoken victim is gone. So it wouldn't surprise me if Maxwell at some point, just you got to be careful. Let's be real. Okay. Maxwell is hopeful Trump will review her case and pardon her after his DOJ's controversial announcement about the Jeffrey Epstein files this week. But sources close to the president says there isn't a snowball chance in hell that that'll happen. Why? Maxwell, you better sing like a bird. Sing like a bird. Write your little memoirs and notes, my friend. Do that because they're coming. I would not feel safe if I'm behind bars, okay? And I got something on this guy. Not at all. It's just weird. Weird how it all happens. But hey, let's keep going. A senior Trump official tells us there has been no discussions or considerations of a pardon for Maxwell, and there never will be. Why? Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years behind bars in June of 2022 after being convicted of aiding Epstein in an sexual exploitation and abuse of multiple minors over the course of a decade. And she's currently sitting in a Florida prison. After this week's official announcement about the Epstein files, people infuriated about the outcome have rage online demanding, why is she still in prison yet? That was the first question that I had. Well, why the hell is she in prison? We're not raging, we're asking questions. And even if we were raging, I think we're in our every right to ask the right questions about this. Somebody has 1,000 child victims. You give us a video with a missing minute. It's not even facing the jail cell that this man was in. And you're expecting people not to rage. Get out of here with that. So she was sentenced to 20 years. Why is she in prison? Okay. Oh, look at that. This is the photo. They're very chummy. We're told that the DOJ never worked with Maxwell, despite her offering to cooperate after Epstein was arrested for alleged underage trafficking. It was reported she's been seeking to cut a plea deal with the feds. She is willing to talk. The feds aren't interested. She's willing to talk and the feds are not interested. Really? She's willing to talk and the feds are not interested. Well, Abraham, she's willing to talk, and the feds are not interested. Ain't that some ish? Isn't that funny? Thank you. How mysterious that one of the farmers was not working on that day, Yadira. Thank you. I'm telling you. Look at this. Look at this. Her brothers are on that list. She's just as guilty as Epstein. She was willing to talk. So here's the deal. But I thought there was no list. Despite her offering to cooperate, Epstein was arrested for alleged underage stuff. It was reported she's been seeking to cut a plea deal with the feds, but they apparently said no thanks. Why wouldn't they want to? GHISLAINE Maxwell asked the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn her trafficking conviction. She wants a plea deal. It's well known Trump was friendly with Epstein and probably knew Maxwell. So there are layers to this possible pardon, which, again, our White House sources says ain't happening. So David Marcus, the lawyer representing Maxwell in the Supreme Court appeal, tells TMZ he believes the high court is her best route to freedom. The recent developments underscore just how absurd it is that Maxwell is still in prison. The government says there's no Epstein client list, yet Maxwell remains locked up as the scapegoat for ghosts. It's not right. We're hopeful that she gets some relief soon. Lord have mercy. Now will she? She's the scapegoat for ghosts. You said, I can't believe this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I don't know, guys. Maybe she will write a book. She better listen. She better be careful. That's what I got to say. I know, right? Dino Nuggets is like, hey, she's Maxwell's calling the White House and she's getting that dial tone that your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and try again. Message 5. I remember I used to call and I'd be like, damn, those operators, the recorded operators you call, you'd be like, do, your call cannot be completed at this time. Please check the number and dial again. Message 6. She can be guilty and deserving, but solely, period. The only person? My goodness. I know. I mean, geez. Was there any other person, photographer, more with Epstein than Trump? Come on. We're not buying it. We're not. We the people do not hashtag we the people don't buy it. We don't buy. I'm not believing it. And I'm here for the outrage of it because I think it's great. Are we just going to ignore it? And I'm glad that YouTubers are going through it. They're literally going through it. And people are kind of feeding into this. Now, hold up. What do we have? FBI director Bongino has told people he is considering resigning. Oh, what? Wait. See, I told you should have done an edible. Wait a minute. This just broke, y'all. Breaking news. Where's my gavel? Breaking news. Bongino is considering retiring. Lord have mercy. He's out. He's like, I'm done. Like, I didn't like Kash Patel. Your friend is out. What happened here? Oh my God. He's like, listen, I need a drink. And I'm done. I'm done. With full pension. That's the thing, right, James Steele? With full pension. Please and thank you. There goes my sobriety, says Aduko. Oh my god, let's read. This just broke, y'all. This just broke. Literally came into my feed. Hold up. Deputy FBI Director Bongino has told people he is considering resigning amid the Epstein file fallout. Breaking news. The FBI director, Dan Bongino, has told people he's considering resigning amid a major clash between the FBI and the Justice Department over the continued fallout from the release of the Jeffrey Epstein memo. Several sources familiar with the matter told CNN. This comes after a heated confrontation with Attorney General Pan Bondi over the handling of the case earlier this week. The infighting over the case came to a head during a Wednesday meeting, which included Bongino, Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles or Wales? Sources said Bongino and Patel were confronted about whether they were behind a story that said the FBI wanted more information released, but was ultimately smitten by the Justice Department. Bongino denied leaking the notion to News Nation. Oh, yeah, there was that interview, which published the story. A source familiar with the matter told CNN, though he did not sign on a statement defending the review included in that article. CNN has reached out to Bongino. Oh my god, this is hilarious because it's like they're fighting with each other, and these are the leaders of these big offices. CNN has reached out to Bongino and the FBI for a comment. The sources cautioned that Bongino had not made up his mind, and it is possible that he would stay in his position. The episode comes as many of the President Donald Trump's close advisors, both inside and outside of the White House, have grown increasingly frustrated with Bondi's handling of the so-called Epstein files. You know, I don't know why people are upset with Bondi. Bondi is doing what she is supposed to do. She's being told by the president. Like, let's be real. The people should be mad at the president. Why are we causing division? Like, these leaders are just doing what they do. I don't think that they have Trump gives me the impression that he's much of a micromanager in this situation. So he's micromanaging things. He's got his advisors. His advisors are telling him, don't do this, don't do that. He's talking to these people. We're not releasing this. We're not releasing that. Let's stop acting like these people aren't in the same, category or office. Like, come on now. Literally, why are we acting brand new to this? I know I want to call him Bon Jovi. I really do want to call him Bon Jovi. Bongino Bon Jovi. Ooh, I hear Baby Bunny. He said Bondi can lie. Bongino is not having it. His radio station exposed everything. I'm gonna have to check it out. M7666. I'll have to check it out. I just don't buy that this is like a one-person show. I think that this was very intentional. This is a mess and a half. Okay? It's a mess and a half. It really is. Like, let me tell you guys, if you want a reality TV show, watch these big old people go at it. I love it. I'm here for it. Like, this is all live. It's all happening right in front of us. Watch these people go at it. It's a reality TV show. It's la novela. That's what it is. The president novela. Multiple sources says Bongino did not come to work Friday. He's like, I'm out. I'm not coming into the office. I'm out. Which, but I don't think that anyways, let me stop. So I guess him not coming to work is like a thing, right? I mean, aren't they like all salaried employees? Fueling speculation that he had quit over the issue. One source said as of Friday afternoon, he had not left his position. Dan, can you do me a favor? Dan Bongino should write one of those, like, you know how they say you're not supposed to write an I quit email to the office? He should totally do that and CC everybody. I quit, motherfuckers. I'm out. You can have it. You can have it. And then that way he could start like his, go in and do an expose of it all. I'm here for it, because that would be like the best. The best. I'm just saying. Thank you. Ram, thank you so much for the $4.99. The title, I'm late, was helping mommy catch up. I'm in the kitchen. I'm was helping. All right. Thank you for the $4.99. They are struggling. We'll say that. Wow, this is true. He's getting them tapes. Something's going on. I just don't think that this is a one-person show, y'all. It's not a one-person show. Wouldn't that be great? Dear, thank you. Do one of those I quit emails. That's what you do. I quit. I want to expose everybody. Do that. I've seen that happen, and that always goes very well, especially at the White House. You said he helped create the platform Rumble during the time when conservative voices were being shut down. He's a solid guy. Well, maybe he can go to Rumble and say it all. Is he going to quit? Speculation, rumor, a lot. Hello, Rabbit. Shout out to you. Your last video. Thank you. Do it. Expose it all. He's not happy about what's going down. I mean, that's what I would do. Crazy, huh? Anyways, let's keep going. So the whole thing has been a complete mess and no one's happy. A source briefed on the matter told CNN the FBI and justice officials have been at odds for months about the handling of the Epstein file review. Pam orchestrated an event at the White House in February with pro-Trump social media influencers. Oh, y'all remember that? So was that not real too? Were those binders empty? My goodness, y'all. That is crazy. MAGA influencers realized that the most of the documents had been public for years. How long did it take them to realize that? Because I found out while I was at home. I was like, I feel like I've seen this 5 years ago. Ain't nothing new. And then the crazy part is even the PR statement that came out of that. We're working, trust me, we just had to release this. That's already been released. You guys did absolutely nothing new. Brought these MAGA influencers over, and they're holding these binders of nothing new. And they really thought they did something with that. What do we make? Why do they do that? Why do they do that to social media influencers who supported the administration? Why do that? Crazy. But yeah, let me know what you all think. Okay, so this is what she organized. Though she later faced criticism when the MAGA influencers realized that the most of the documents had been public for years. Patel had minimal involvement in that event, but more recently, Bongino repeated promises that the files would be released, even as he tried to downplay the contents. I'm so here for it, y'all. And I know you guys you're like, oh my God, it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and people need to be embarrassed about it. They really do. I don't understand why we can't call these people out. He may be your favorite politician and everything. Look at this. Look at this. CNN is reporting. Y'all know I'm not a fan of CNN and their reporting, just like I'm not a fan of Fox News. Let's go.
All right, this breaking news. Sources tell CNN that Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino has told people that he's considering resigning amid a major clash between the FBI and DOJ over the continued fallout from the release or lack thereof of the Jeffrey Epstein memo. Joining us right now in Files, joining us right now on the phone is CNN anchor and chief White House correspondent Caitlin Collins. Caitlin, what more are you learning?
Yeah, Fred, it remains to be seen if he actually follows through with what he has told colleagues. But what we do know is that Dan Bongino has told people he is considering resigning as the deputy director of the FBI over the fallout that has continued ever since this memo was released last Sunday. The anger inside the MAGA base has only continued to grow instead of going away, as some officials inside hoped it would. And now our colleagues.
That's the question. That's the question that I have.
Along with Christian Holmes, Hannah Rabinowitz, and Evan Perez, we're hearing that he's considering resigning after they had this heated confrontation with the Attorney General Pam Bondi over the handling of this earlier this week. And basically there was a meeting at the White House where the FBI Director Kash Patel was there, the White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. They were questioned about whether they were part of a story, that there was basically some infighting over how this came out, and this memo that said we're not going to be releasing any more information related to Jeffrey Epstein. And I should note that we are told Bongino denied leaking any story to this outlet that it was reported on. But there has been a lot of fighting between Attorney General Pam Bondi specifically and the leadership over at the FBI over who's to blame in this situation.
You know what? And this is such a good point. I'm so glad you're saying this, Crow Red Eye. It's not really about information being withheld. There is no misinformation. For those that are like, guys, there isn't. They're not wanting to release information. That's what people are upset about, right? We're upset at the fact that they're not wanting to release information. It's not misinformation to say that. The FBI, the DOJ, they did a whole little thing. They said that they weren't going to release it, and there was nothing. So there is no misinformation as far as that goes. They're just not wanting to release it. And what do they expect us to believe, especially when some of this was promised? I think people are allowed to be upset over this, and I'm here for it. I'm glad.
I think the context here is obviously Dan Bongino, Kash Patel. They came from this MAGA world where they themselves had pushed a lot of questions about the so-called client list that Epstein had beforehand. And now the MAGA base is just not pleased or satisfied with what they've said in this memo that came out unsigned.
And they shouldn't be. You know how many people I've had on my comments say, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I can't believe, like, this is supposed to be about transparency, which is what the last administration was criticized for. And I agree with that criticism. I agree with that criticism in various administrations. I don't know why we have so much red tape on things that have to be released many years later after people, big crimes where they've died, they've been convicted. Why isn't this more public information? I feel like it's like the more we know, the more research we can do out of that and allow people to be publicly informed. The JFK files is another thing. Why do they sit there for so long? If it wasn't for, us to speculate that maybe this was more into the inside of things, or like there's just so much nefarious shit. It's not us, it's them that make it this way. So we wouldn't be upset if it wasn't for the fact that they do this shit. They red tape it. They pump people up, and then they red tape everything once they get the vote that they wanted. That's not okay.
From the Justice Department and the FBI on Sunday night. So what we are told is Dan Bongino did not show up to work today, that he is essentially not there out of protest. But whether or not he actually follows through on this still remains to be seen. We're still reporting that out. But it just speaks to the backlash that the White House is very much feeling and understanding after this memo came out, despite President Trump the other day in the cabinet room asking, who still cares about this? One thing we know is the MAGA base certainly does.
Yes.
All right, Caitlin Collins, thanks so much for that. We'll check back with you as you learn more. CNN Senior Justice.
Here's the deal. NOLA 504 says Trump asked why the reporter asked about MC. I will give you that. Probably not the best time to ask about the files right then and there when they were going to talk about Texas, right? I get that. But here's my question to you. Why haven't they done a press conference over like all of this? This is what the people want. Hold a press conference. Okay? Hold a press conference. Have everything be reviewed. If you knew you were going to get this backlash, if you knew people were going to have questions, hold a press conference where the media can ask questions about why they came for that decision. Do that. They released this information right when this tragedy is happening. So to a certain degree, you can get mad at the reporter for asking, but here's the deal. Texas is a tragic situation, but the fact that we have 1,000 victims is also a tragic situation. So get mad at that too, okay? Because we're trying to figure out how the hell this man got 1,000 victims and only a woman is standing behind bars. How does that make sense? We're trying to figure that out. It cannot be that way. She could not have been the only one that orchestrated all this for Epstein. It doesn't make sense. Get mad at that, okay? Just as much as you want to get mad at this, get mad at that. Do it both ways. Keep the same energy because both things are tragic.
correspondent Evan Perez is also with us. And so, Evan, is it your understanding that if Bongino were to resign, it's as a result of the infighting, including with the AG, Pam Bondi, or is it mostly over the disappointment of these Epstein files either not existing or not being released?
Well, look, I think Fred, there's a larger issue here, and I think if you look at Dan Bongino, he was a very successful podcaster. He was very,
and you guys are. I mean, somebody said that in the comments. He started Rumble. I had no idea. I mean, that's great. He did all that, and if he quits the position, you know what that tells me? He's not. He wasn't with the shits. That's what tells me that. If you're quitting a position because you're tired of the backlash, then maybe he'll openly speak out now that he's not there anymore. I'm here for that. I'm not buying what he's putting out right now, talking about there's nothing to see. I'm not buying it. I'm not.
He had a very big following online, certainly very financially successful with his podcast that was a very, very strong appeal inside MAGA world. And this job really hasn't been, I think, very much fun. And if you've seen him doing some of his interviews in right-leaning media and conservative media, he has said as much. He has said that this job is taking a toll on his life, on his personal life, with his family.
I bet.
He's having to essentially be separated from them while he's here in Washington doing this job. It's not nearly what he's used to back in the days. Obviously, he is someone who came from law enforcement. So, I think there's a bigger story here in terms of what Bongino is thinking. But I certainly think part of what Caitlin laid out just now is partly the story here, and that is that there is some daylight between top FBI officials and top Justice Department officials over the handling of this Epstein matter.
There's something more to this. The fact that they're not agreeing about the handling tells me everything that I need to know. And Squids, you and I see each other here. So as long as people allow themselves to make everything about left versus right issues, nothing will ever change. And I find it incredibly sad. My mind is not made up between two sides. There's no way. There's no way. There's more to this country than that. And that's what this has become in this election specifically. Literally, he can't handle the job. Whew. I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments. And by the way, this is the kind of stream that YouTube likes to suppress. Anything regarding Trump or anything like they like. So please do me a favor, hit the like button, support and share, because this is the kind of stuff that will get you down. They don't want nothing to do with that. That's it. You say, no, Bongino can't handle the lies, not the job. Ren, do you think that at some point he's going to say something? Because I think that, I don't know. Maybe he'll say something. Maybe he'll quit that job and then say something specifically. Let me know. Thank you. Rabbit, when I researched Epstein and the Maxwell, I sent you the court documents that talks about the plea deal. Okay. I hope so, Ren. I honestly hope so, because it sounds like he's not a bad guy. I mean, I'm just not a fan of what's happening. That's all. So hopefully he'll speak out. This isn't, thank you. It's the establishment, bad actors, both sides can be corrupt. The Democrats can be corrupt, and so can the Republicans, y'all. That's what's wrong with the whole system as a whole when we look at these by two parties. But the more money you have and whatever piques your interest, you're going to select what that is, what protects you and your family, right? That's what we do. And I get so I'm not a political channel, guys. I'm not, because my mind is not made up that way. I can't tell you. But if it makes sense, and if we can digest it and break it down and look at things in a human element, we're missing that. We're missing that human element from this whole thing. I'm sure that Dan, I'm sure that Cash, I'm sure that those are really great individuals. I don't know them personally, right? I don't know enough about them. But for whatever reason, they were passionate enough to get in that position. I worked in government for 10 years. I worked my ass off to get in a managerial level where I handle a lot of stuff. But I could tell you, as somebody that worked in government, the shit that goes in there, it's like, whoosh, it's a lot. So people need to understand that it's not always just black and white. It's very exhausting. Very exhausting. Oh my God. Belen, thank you so much for the $50 super sticker. Great reporting, Rabbit. They work for us. We need to remember that they work for us. They work for us. We're allowed to ask questions. I always side-eye the people that go back and forth defending a political person or a specific person, because I have to kind of wonder, girl, it's okay. If I'm not convinced and I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid that Trump or Biden are putting down, I don't like both of these individuals, by the way. I should be able to ask the questions that make sense, because clearly it's not appealing to me. It's not. So thank you, Belen, for the $50. I really appreciate it, girl. Thank you. That's really does help out. CoffeeZilla, has been on that neck, just exposing it all. And I think I would have to agree, this is the worst cover-up. And we're seeing it play out. Don't be part of that problem. And what I mean by that is, don't allow them to do this shit. Don't allow them to just cover up and you placate to it like there's more. No. It's a cover-up. And we're watching it play out. And it's going to be a cover-up. That's what it is.
This is the worst cover-up of my lifetime, the Epstein case. The reason I'm talking about it so much is because if you can get away with this, you really can get away with anything. If the government can tell people to not believe what they just said a few months ago and have everyone be fine with that, that's just a level of gaslighting that I refuse to be a part of. Never forget, they just promised us names in the release of the Epstein files.
Breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released.
What kind?
A lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable.
Yeah, well, apparently there are no names to be given, no list, no blackmail. Epstein has now been pushed as a lone trafficker. It's the lone trafficker theory, guys.
No way.
Essentially, the government's memo that they just released contradicts everything we've seen before, and now basically implies that Epstein was trafficking to himself and GHISLAINE Maxwell was trafficking to Epstein, and there was no other blackmail or trafficking going on.
Nobody got paid. Nobody. This is a two-person show. Now one person, because she's behind bars, but this was a two-person show. They're playing us, y'all. They're playing us.
What this memo essentially implies, his wealth and his power then would be just from his skill as a New York financier.
I'm talking about Jeff Epstein, the New York financier.
Basically, he was the world's greatest tax advisor by day and the world's greatest trafficker at night to himself. And the rich and powerful people who all flocked to him and to his island had no idea of this double life. That's
But what if we're not being given all the information? And so I believe that there's probably information that we're not being given at all. I mean, it's not surprising. To trust that there's nothing on any logs, I don't know if I'm there. I'm not. I'm being honest.
It really is kind of the heart of the modern theory, is that just all Epstein by himself, and then his friends just were there for his tax advice, despite not being a tax professional or a lawyer. Not only that, another huge revelation is the fact that really the government has increased the number of victims and decrease the number of perpetrators, right? We had the idea that there were these other perpetrators for a while, that they were just redacted because the government was building cases. Now we got pretty clear statements that there isn't evidence to bring future cases on third parties. But if you look at the original 2019 indictment, it says dozens of victims. This is from Ken Klippenstein. But the Epstein review says over 1,000 victims. So what happened, guys? And by the way, in the interim, they also increased the number to 200 to 250.
200 victims. 200. So we have well over 250, actually.
So we went from dozens to 200 to over 1,000 in the span of basically a year in terms of victims. We like 10x the number of victims. But now there's no perpetrators. Like the perpetrators have been reduced. That is the crazy thing about what they're implying here, what this lone trafficker theory is pushing forward. It's also strange because previously Epstein, in a court filing, is said to have provided information to the FBI as agreed upon. Case agent advised that no federal prosecution will occur in this matter as long as Epstein continues to uphold his agreement with the state of Florida. So apparently there was some deal where Epstein was providing information to the FBI. What information? We don't know because no one else was involved. There's also the simple fact that if you go...
And what did Dan say at some point in one of the clips? He said he believed that Epstein was an informant to the FBI. That right there shows it, as long as he's providing information to the FBI.
To the FBI records, what they call the vault, most of the files are just heavily redacted. So the idea that we got some transparency wave is literally a joke. Yes, it is true. There's no Epstein list where there's like names written down, but names exist in documents, on videos, in images, and they're all redacted. What's going on here? They're going to say, oh, it's all for the victims, right? But it's not all victim names. In addition to that, this lone trafficker theory is already on shaky grounds when you think about Prince Andrew's settlement with Virginia Giuffre, where he paid $16 million to make civil sexual assault allegations go away. Now, of course, it's worth saying that he did not admit to guilt. This was a settlement, but that is what you're always going to have with these rich and powerful people. In the same way, you also have Leon Black, who reportedly paid $158 million over 5 years to Jeffrey Epstein for tax advice. And guess what? Leon Black, billionaire, also paid the U.S. Virgin Islands $62 million in cash as part of a settlement, a non-prosecution, where they wouldn't go after him for anything from, quote, any and all claims.
Lex, what's his name? Lex Wexner. I can never say his last name. Wexner. Him, friends with Epstein, Victoria's Secret, that's there. Mike Jeffries. Nobody wants to talk about Mike Jeffries too, right? That guy's got dementia. He's over there. I've done so many videos on Mike Jeffries. A lot of us have. That man needs to stand trial because he's also facing a RICO case. He's got 80 plus victims, 40 plus male victims, model victims. He would set up the hotel rooms like Abercrombie and Finch stores, and he would violate these male victims there. We've talked about that man here.
Of any nature whatsoever, specifically related to Jeffrey Epstein. It's worth noting that $15 million of this cash payment will be going to counseling programs and activities or mental health services. You also have Jess Staley, the former boss of Barclays. He directly admitted to having sex with a member of Epstein's staff, which you would expect if someone was running a trafficking operation. Although I just have to say that there was a statement that this was entirely consensual, and I'm not saying anything about that. I'm simply saying the idea that Epstein was just trafficking for himself is unlikely to be true, in my opinion. Later, Staley wrote to Epstein.
Do you guys see that? Little pieces, we're connecting little dots. Hey, ladies, 747 $2. Thank you so much for this super sticker. I appreciate you. A woman is the only one going down for this. Make it make sense. That doesn't make sense. This is why we got to keep asking questions, right? Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. How is it? It was Epstein and the woman, and that's it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And I'm glad that there's pressure being put, whichever side you're from, whatever side you voted, that people are asking the question. Don't let these people gaslight you.
Say hi to Snow White. Epstein replied, what character would you like next? Staley responded, Beauty and the Beast. And then Jeffrey Epstein said, well, one side is available. Obviously, some type of coded message. You can read into that for yourself. But all of this is public. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what makes the government's memo so infuriating, is so much reporting has already been done. These settlements with powerful figures under denials, yes, but also under very questionable circumstances, make just a complete denial and statement that all of this was just Epstein impossible to believe.
Yep.
In September 2009, Epstein also emailed a woman named Irina to tell her that Jess Staley is staying in the Berkeley Hotel in London tonight. Staley emailed Epstein the next day to say, I should have taken your offer, according to the Times. There's also this book by one of the 60 Minutes correspondents called A Ticking Clock, where he says that he met with GHISLAINE Maxwell, and he said, I want the tapes. I said to Maxwell at a table at Regency Bar, I know he was videotaping everyone. I want the tape of Trump with the girls. She didn't deny the existence of the tapes, but said, I don't know where they are. He apparently replied, ask Epstein, and she gave him a stern look and pointed a finger at my face. I'm the daughter of a press baron. I know the way you people think. If you do one side, you must do the other. If you get tapes on Trump, you have to do Clinton. Now, again, what you make of a third-hand source like this, talking to GHISLAINE Maxwell, who apparently doesn't deny that some of these tapes exist, was she even telling the truth or just playing some game? Either way, this was all known about, not just by people after the fact, but allegedly by people during the fact.
Exactly.
This is from Mark Epstein. It's sourced from Jeffrey Epstein. Quote, if I said what I know about both candidates, they'd have to cancel the election. That's what Jeffrey told me in 2016. So not
if I said what I know about both candidates, which means both sides, both of these individuals, you got people from that side and this side, they're all in it.
Even Jeffrey Epstein or GHISLAINE Maxwell allegedly were claiming this was all just between them. They were constantly insinuating that there were compromising things on various powerful people. What's funny is that Trump himself, even before he was in a position to declassify this stuff, had accused other powerful people of doing these things.
Bill Clinton.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. That island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew.
You also have the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was in touch with other convicted pedophiles. Larry Nassar, he was writing letters. So the idea, once again, that he was just by himself, off by himself, doing things on his island by himself, and then taking calls with people like Bill Gates simply for philanthropic advice really pushes the bounds of belief. Don't forget, a close associate of Bill Gates was named a fallback executor on the will of Jeffrey Epstein, which he, by the way, said he was shocked by and he deeply regrets meeting Epstein. Bill Gates has said similar things to that effect. Of course, Bill Gates fraternized with Epstein after he was convicted of crimes. Previously, he told the Wall Street Journal, I didn't have any business relationship or friendship with him. But in fact, he met multiple times with him at his Manhattan townhouse.
Wow.
Now, once again, I have to say real quick, all of these people are innocent until proven guilty. All of them deny doing anything untoward.
But you mean to tell me that they don't have a list? But all these people are mentioned in various articles and everything. Okay.
My point is, there are already too many associations to make the lone trafficker theory make any sense. For example, Jean-Luc Brunel was somebody who apparently trafficked a bunch of people to Epstein, who himself abused a bunch of women and even was charged for it. He was charged for some really awful things and then later found dead in his cell. Interestingly, Epstein was actually a financier of Brunel's modeling agency, where a lot of this alleged abuse happened. So once again, the idea of the lone trafficker just doesn't make sense, because Epstein's directly linked to another guy who is also abusing women. So after all of this, they're really asking you to believe the unbelievable. They're asking you to not believe what they've said about this case, both out of office and now in power.
That's right.
They're asking you to not believe public reporting linking Epstein to other known pedophiles. They're asking you not to believe suspicious circumstances regarding settlements of powerful people. They're asking you to believe that Epstein was just the greatest tax advisor and financial advisor on the planet that all of these billionaires needed to consult, despite the fact that there are entire organizations built around providing the same services as this without the, links to crimes. They're asking you to believe that when people are talking about Snow White and Beauty and the Beast, they're referencing Disneyland. And they're especially asking you to believe that they have found 900 new victims since reviewing these files and exactly 0 new perpetrators. So I'm just not buying it personally. I find it insulting to the intelligence of every single person who's ever looked at this story. And yeah, it really makes me feel like this was a appropriate time to launch a crime is legal merch collection, to be honest. So yeah, this is probably my last video on this for a while, but just disgusting.
Shout out
This
to
is the worst
Coffeezilla. Shout out to Coffeezilla, because he really broke it down and I'm here for it. I've been watching his videos where he's breaking everything down. I've just been amazed. Okay, guys, we got to get to this last part. I have to move on. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button, because they like to suppress this kind of content. We're not done talking about Epstein. We're not done talking about these files, because guess what? We're going to keep talking about them. We are. We're going to keep talking about it. Yes, we are. Okay. Gary Coleman, his ex-wife, Shannon Price, who I have done breakdowns about, I believe she's very suspect, does a, what is it called? A lie detector test, and fails a lie detector test. I believe she had something to do with his death. I've always believed that. And so she fails this lie detector test. I personally don't believe lie detector tests because, they're not admissible. There isn't a whole lot you can do with them, but I don't think I needed a lie detector test to say that this woman is suspect. Her statements have been very inconsistent for many years. So she pulled the plug. He had an NDR, or excuse me, not an NDR. Yeah, a direct, keep messing this acronym, but a direct, what is it called when you're in the hospital and you have something in place so people can make decisions for you? A direct advance. That's what it is. She had a direct advance. Okay. And he had a direct advance, and he wanted to be put on life support for 15 days before they pulled the plug. I almost said it, NDR. Why was I saying it wrong? Well, the lady pulled the plug in 2 days. Advance directive. Thank you. I keep saying it the other way. Direct advance. It's advance directive. An advance directive. Okay. Had that. Gary Coleman's ex-wife claims that she had no choice but to take the actor off life support. Shannon Price appears in a new docuseries, Lie Detector, Truth or Deception. Now, there's been ongoing communication about that. I've done breakdowns on this so many times. This woman I don't know how well, I do know how she didn't get charged. They didn't give a shit about Gary Coleman. That's what it was. They didn't care about Gary Coleman. They didn't care about anything that he had to say or anything. Nobody cared about him because they just wanted his money. And he died broke to a certain degree. He didn't have a lot of money when he died. So this woman marries Gary, and he had just, the day that he died, or at least the day that he fell, I believe he had done dialysis. Okay. Goes home. She's in bed and she's asking him to go downstairs to make some pizza rolls or something because she felt so bad. I felt so bad. And then he falls. Blood's everywhere. Dogs are around. She's on the phone with 911. They won't, she won't give him CPR. She won't do nothing. It was all weird. Okay. So she had stood on that. She was never charged with anything. I'm not sure why. I don't think that they treated this like an actual criminal investigation. That's what it was. So Gary Coleman's ex-wife, Shannon Price, has claimed that she had no choice but to take the late actor off life support. So he was on life support. He was supposed to be in there for 15 days. Yep, I got that right. After Coleman's fall, he was placed in medically induced coma. Price instructed doctors to take Coleman off life support after 2 days, despite the star having a living will that requested that he be kept on for 15 days before ending treatment. In the first episode of the A&E's, docuseries A Lie Detector, Truth or Deception, Price discusses the circumstances around Coleman's death. So we talked a little bit about that. She said, I had no choice. He had been gone into cardiac arrest, and it is ultimately what took his life. It's bullshit. This woman was, in my opinion, it was said that she was putting hands on him. He had bruising on his face, and he wasn't, he was too afraid to speak out about it. Coleman arrived at the hospital on Wednesday, and the following day, Price decided to withdraw life support. They called me Thursday morning and said, does Gary have an NDR, do not resuscitate order? Says Price in the new show. And I said, yeah, resuscitate him. I try to do everything in my will. Thursday, I go to visit him, speak with the doctors, and they're like, Shannon, we do not think he's going to make it until Friday, meaning his condition is not going to get any better. I made the right decision. Okay. I just knew, he was basically gone already. She was taking pictures of him while he was on life support, or excuse me, with all the machines. I don't think it was life support. Well, he was hooked up. I'm assuming it's life support, but he was hooked up, and she was taking pictures and selling those pictures to the press. She did that. And his eyes, are his eyes dilated? And they said, yes. And I said, okay, I can see. And they showed me, and that's when I knew. So she made the decision to pull the plug off this man's thing. They never did anything to save this man's life. Like I said, this man, all his life, he had the condition that he had. He was on dialysis always. He was working since he was a child. His parents also took from him. He worked his whole life. He made so much money that he should have never had to worry about any other medical treatment, but they did this man wrong in the industry. And so when people would see him bitter, and they would tease him and they would bug him, and he would go off on people, and he was mean to people. And I don't blame him. That's how it was. So there is that. I've done various videos. I'm going to link them in the description box so you guys can watch them. But I'm also going to change the title on them so they're easier to find for folks. But we have done so many videos on this topic. I suggest you guys watch, because this woman is a lie. And I think she just needed a little payday. This was 10 months ago when I did this. Gary Coleman, there was a documentary, and we reviewed all
downstairs, and Gary was already downstairs, and to me it sounded like hands that hit the floor.
Tell me a little bit more about what happened the night he fell.
I asked him if he could make me some food, and he went downstairs, and I heard this big smack. I rushed down.
It was only a couple times as far as anything physical. Yeah, there was a couple times. I mean, I slapped him a couple times. I mean, nothing major, nothing like red flag.
I have this on my head because I fell down the stairs. I don't want people thinking that my wife is abusing me.
Shannon Price, always falling down the stairs. And guess what? He falls down the stairs, and then he has a fatal fall there. Yeah, I'm not buying it. So in my opinion, I think she got away with a lot of shit. Yeah, she sure did. She got hands on him. Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Shout out to everybody. We got extra spicy today. You guys are amazing. Thank you for those that supported the channel today. Appreciate it. I'm going to let you go because it is Friday. Go watch my Shannon Price videos because I think 4 or 3 of them. I'll link them in the description box and I'll put them in the community wall. All right. I'll see you guys later. I got to go. Bye, guys. Bye, bye, bye.